So, how'd I go getting my car ready for the show? So, how'd I go getting my car ready for the show? Terrible. Just the weather was not good for painting, and so I'm still in this situation where I've got some panels painted and I've been trying to get things in order, but I haven't made any progress for weeks. Today I've got an hour or so. So I'm going to maybe put the paint stripped off the front here. And everything's hanging out the front here. What I'm going to do is actually try to clean this up here, the lip, and then actually lead load around, because water tends to get in there and stay, and then you get sort of orange rust appearing, surface rust. So I'm going to try to clean this up and then seal it, and then do the same for the other side. And I've been taking the wing back to bare metal, which has been good. So I've been able to fix up some of the tiny dents and just basically clean it up. So, it's just taking ages. Let's see how we go. So this is what I've been doing here. Basically, I want to keep the line, the join between the two panels, so it looks authentic, but I want to seal it so that water moisture doesn't get through, and you get that yellow rust line. So I've actually painted some paste in there, some flux paste, and heated it up and then wiped it with a rag, and you get a really nice clean sealed joint, sealed with lead, so it's better than just filler. And, you can see how it'd be really easy just to de-seam the whole car and fill it up, but I don't want to do that. I want to keep it looking original. So that should be quite effective at keeping the seam rust-free. On the inside, I'll use conventional seam sealer just to totally seal up the seam so no water gets through from either side. Well, I learnt that fire and rubber gloves don't really go together. Ouch. This is my right side barn door, and it's in pretty good condition because I've given it a paint before, but this time I'm going to take it back to bare metal so that it's the same as the other door, and then I can decide to 2-pack it or acrylic. But yeah, it's pretty straight, this one, it's good. But I'll get it back to bare metal. I might find that there's some putty in there. Last time I painted it, I put the hinges on first, then painted the whole door, which was just really a quick paint to stop the rust from getting worse. So I've got to strip it right back and see what it needs doing, but hopefully it's not a big job. So I'm just using some 80 grit on an orbital just to take it back. This is exactly why I wanted to do this, because it looks all nice on the surface, but as soon as you dive a bit deeper, you discover this little rust bits everywhere. So I'm going to take it back to bare metal, try to clean all that up with my little roll-lock wheel and some really gritty disc, maybe 60 or 30 grit, and see if I can get those out. Work out if there's any major rust that I need to make a new panel section. So maybe it's not my last weld. We'll see what it looks like when I get down deeper. So that took a good hour to strip that back to bare metal, just using a 30 grit disc on my orbital sander. But yeah, I did need to take that back because there was some crazing in the underlying sort of original primer. So there's still some little crazing in there, which is a bit hard to see, but I'll just go over it with my Rolock wheel and a really coarse, maybe 30 grit or something like that, to get those out. But it's very straight apart from that. There's no dents, so I should be able to just epoxy prime this to seal it, and then maybe a really light skim of filler where is needed, just to get that nice and flat. But it's autumn now and getting towards winter. I really wanted to have the car painted before winter, but luckily it only goes down to sort of 10 degrees at night here, and during the days it's sort of around 20 anyway, so even in winter it should be okay to paint. I can always close the door here and put some heaters on. But I still haven't decided what sort of paint I'm going to use yet. But anyway, I have to prime it and see how we go from there. So obviously I haven't done the bottom side. I might actually just use paint stripper on that because it's so tedious, but I really need to use the grinder, the coarse sandpaper on here to really rough up the surface and work out where the problems are. But pretty straight. I don't think I need to make a replacement panel at the bottom because there's no rust showing through. So I think I'll just pour some sealer inside there, seal it up really well on the outside so I can paint it. On the back barn door, so the other side is stripped off with a wheel with a stripping disc, but this side I'm going to actually try some paint stripper on. I haven't used it before, this particular type of paint stripper. We'll see if it manages to get it off. It's very slow. I might use my blaster once this is done just to sandblast the remaining the paint off, which might be easier than scraping it off. Anyway, it hasn't really started yet, so we'll just leave it a bit longer. How's it moon? Here's my rear barn door after just being sprayed with some epoxy etch primer. On the other side, pretty good. That stripping gel was a nightmare. I won't be using that again. That was just so messy. So now the job with this is to just fix up any of the minor imperfections with some filler and seam seal around the whole door. Just basically rub it back, prepare it for painting. So I'm inside the van pulling out the ceiling because I've got a new one and it's pretty dirty and horrible, so it's good to get it out, and it's been ripped in certain places, so that's what I'm doing. So it's out. The roof's in surprisingly good condition. I was expecting to see spot rust everywhere, but it's actually really clean, which is great. I found the easiest way was to pull the strengthening rods out from the driver's side, so the right hand side of the car, and then they just pulled out from the other side easily. But yeah, you can see the glue where they used to be, but it's pretty good. I used to have staining around the outside, and I just see it was just from lots of dust that was sitting there and getting moist, but no, it's very neat and clean, which is really nice. So pretty happy with that one. Should come up really good once the new material is in place. Here's my old ceiling material. You can see it was sort of stained around the outside there. But you know, 50 years old, it's pretty good. Pretty dirty underneath. You can see where all the dust has got in here. Basically that's why it's stained. So we'll replace that with a nice new shiny one. Damn. So what I feared, I got this headlining from Newton Commercial and it said it was for an Australian van, but it's got absolutely nothing to do with an Australian van. It's completely the wrong size. You can see how much longer this is which is really important. This is also reinforced with some cardboard along here. That's not long enough. But more importantly, the ribs are in the wrong place. So here are the ribs here, which the rod has to go through, and the British ones, these ones are here in a completely different spot, and they're not sewn. So there's no way to feed. I would have to sew it up to feed the rods through. So I can't see that working at all. It's totally different. So I have to throw that out or sell it or something and get someone else to make me one of these up that fits properly. So the latest on this is I contacted Newton Commercial about the headlining, and they've been great to deal with. Really responsive, and apologised for not having the right one because they don't have any of the patterns for the Australian minis. So that's why the headlining didn't fit. So I'm going to have to source my own, make it, or find a local upholsterer who can help me with it. So anyway, top marks for Newton Commercial. They were great to deal with, and I was able to send the headlining back to the UK, and they're going to credit me, which is almost unheard of in this rip-off industry, the car industry. So many charlatans and crooks I've discovered over the last couple of years. Anyway, that's a shining light out there. So absolutely, you can trust Newton Commercial to help you if you get something that's not right. So thank you very much, guys. Really helpful. So I wasn't happy with this corner, so I put a really thin coat of filler on there and scraped a lot of it off, but I'm just going to basically smooth that off. Just because it just wasn't quite neat enough around here, so I might as well get it right. And what else? See what else I can do. I've got about an hour, which is incredible to have any time at all. So I'm going to see if I can just get that right. See how we go. Let me just show you here. I've taken the front window out just so I can clean all this up all the way along. I've got new rubbers and everything for that. This quarter has been cleaned up. I've got to take all this back to bare metal and continue on the front. But yes, I've got an hour, so let's get stuck in and see if I can make a little bit more progress. So the door pocket was also not perfectly flat, so I wanted to get that flat. So a little bit more filler on there. It's just a tiny amount. It's like fractions of a millimetre, just to take out a little bit of a ripple. So this is the pocket that I made. So I'm just going to give this a spray now with primer, just to seal it up. I had the tiniest little dent here, which was annoying me, so I got that out and gave it a clean up. Bit of primer. The bottom section here that had a slight ripple there that was bugging me too, I've fixed that and given it a reprime, so that's nice. And coming around here, the door is now nice and flat, and I've given that a reprime as well, so I think I'll be a lot happier with that. Just had this slight ripple here, which is from all the welding and stuff, but it's looking really smooth. So that's the new pocket. That's I'm so glad you can't see it, but had that dirty great weld all the way along there, and that hole's supposed to be there. That's where the trim screws into. So yeah, this is the completely fabricated pocket, which came out really nicely. So I'm actually really happy with that, even though I had no idea what I was doing. I'm very sorry, Trev.